All right, so when you are talking, I know this is on your web assignment. You guys are not going to do this on your test, but when you're talking about what vector operations look like when you add them together and stuff like that geometrically, like on a graph, the way that you would do that, like when you're adding, it says the vector is formed by joining the initial point of the first vector with the terminal point of the second. So think about it. You have a vector that has a beginning and an end. When you add the next piece to it, it would make sense that you put the beginning of the next one at the end of the first one, right? That's just what that's saying. When you represent geometrically subtracting, it's like you're taking one of the vectors and adding the opposite of the second one to it. That would be what subtraction looks like. So I just put some examples on here so you guys can see. Look at number 1. This is just from WebAssign. Notice that the vector, when you add, multiply, no, sorry, this one's just adding. When you just add these two vectors together, you come up with 5, 6, right? Look at these 4 graphs. Do you see how when you graph them, you start at the origin when you're adding, and then look where we went. Do you guys kind of see? This is not an XY, right? So don't think of it that this is an XY, but kind of think of it like it's an XY. I know it's not an X and a Y. It's not a coordinate, but you can think of it that way. Do you notice how you went over 5 and up how many? 6, which is what your vector was here. Same thing over here. Look. What are we doing here? We're subtracting them. So it's not that your vector is going to get longer. Do you see how we took these two together, this piece, and it made it one long vector? Over here, subtracting is going to make it shorter. So look, if I start at the origin here, doesn't it? Didn't we go over 3 and then down 4? You guys see that? That's all that is. It's not a major thing. I just want you guys to visually see it. If you don't enter it into WebAssign and it marks it wrong for this part, don't stress about your score. I will adjust accordingly my grading scale. I just want you guys to see it. What I do want to show you is something like this. This is on the end of WebAssign. You will have questions just like this on your test, right? If I give you a vector and I tell you that the vector form is 3, -9, right? You guys are familiar with that. V1 is 3, V2 is -9. The first part of the vector is 3, the second part of the vector is -9. This is also in vector form. It just looks a little different. Anything that's with the I, it'll always be written in IJ form. Anything with the I is the first part of the vector. Anything with the J is the second part. So in order to write this in the visual way that you guys were taught last week, this would be vector 3, 7. Does that make sense? You just take the coefficient. If I look at the next one, what would my vector be here? What is V? -2, good, the sign goes with it, and -1, perfect, it's just the coefficients. What is the vector here? What's with I? 15. What's with J? Perfect. So that's the same thing. When you guys see one of these I's and J's, that's all it is. It's just a different way to write it. That's it. So let's go ahead and do some vector operations here. I want to show you guys exactly how I expect to see things on your WebAssign and how I expect to see them on your test on Friday. Right? This first problem says to do what? You're going to multiply what? 3 times V, so I want to see 3, and then your V vector, which is -2, -1, plus 2 times U, which is 3, 7. So, yeah.
When it's negative, do you so if it was like -2?
We'll do one like that in just a second, the next example. Yep. What am I going to do first? Am I going to add these two together, or am I going to distribute? All right, let's distribute. So I have here and here. That's a good question, Mikey. We'll do it in a second. So this becomes -6, -3, plus, when I distribute here, I get 6, 14. First, guys, goes with first. So what does this become? What's -6 plus 6? 0. And then what's -3 plus 14? 11. Remember, you have to have your notation correct. This is not an ordered pair. If I asked you what the magnitude was, what's another word for magnitude? The distance, the length. You need 2 points in order to find the distance. You don't have 2 points here. What can I do with my vector to find the magnitude? You just square. You square v1 and you add it to whatever v2 is. Because all that is your 2 x's and your 2 y's already combined. So this would become 0 plus 121. Whoops, not 211. 121, which would become the square root of 121, which would become 11. So when you're in vector form already, you just square v1, square v2, add them together, take the square root. All right, so this was Mikey's next one probably. Hold on. All right, what's going on here? I have a negative in front of u, and I'm adding it to w, which is what? What was w again? 15, comma, 0. You have to have a place for v1 and v2. If there's nothing there, put a 0. So guys, this is just saying distribute this negative first. So it's -3, comma, -7 plus 15, comma, 0, right? First with first. What is -3 plus 15? 12, good. And then what's -7 plus 0? -7. In order to find the magnitude, if you needed to find the magnitude, you would just take v1 and square it, plus v2 and square it. So you get 144 plus 49. What's 144 plus 49? 193. And then you see if you can break it down. On your test, it's going to say give the exact value. That means no decimals, break down if you can. All right, this is what Mikey's question was. Now, I'm going to do this problem one of two ways. So I have -4 times my w, which is 15, 0, right? -3 times u, which is 3, 7. And then plus 2 times v, which is -2, -1. All right, I'm going to rewrite the same thing over here. 15, 0. -2, -1. Yep, okay. All right, now, order of operations and knowing when to distribute and change signs and all that stuff. This is where you guys will make your biggest mistakes. Either writing the problem down wrong or getting messed up with signs. There's nothing that mathematically is just way too much for you to handle. But there's two ways to look at a problem like this. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to distribute my -4, correct? So I have -4 times 15 is -60. -4 times 0 is 0. Now, you can look at this next situation two ways. I'm going to do it two ways. I'm going to say that, and I have a minus, and I'm going to distribute 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 7 is 21. This is not the way I would do it, but I'm just going to show you how some people see it. Then the next thing I'm going to do is say, okay, distribute here, and I get -4, comma, -2. Everybody with me? Now that we have all of our multiplication done, we can go ahead and combine. We can say first with first with first. So look at your signs, guys. This says -60 minus 9, which is -69, minus 4, correct? So -73. And then you have second with second with second. 0 minus 21 is -21. Minus 2 is -23. Now, you could absolutely 100% do it that way. I think signs can get confusing when you don't change everything to plus in the middle. Another way you could look at that is you can distribute like this. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, okay, fine. I'm going to distribute, again, -4 to both of these gives me -60, comma, 0. Now, I'm going to distribute a -3. So this would change to a plus. When I did go here, I get -9, -21, and then I have plus -4, -2, which is exactly, we're going to get the exact same answer here. I just like this better. I like to distribute the negative with the number that I'm multiplying. Just change that sign in front of it to a plus. It's just, to me, now I don't have to worry about where do I minus and where do I plus. I'm just adding everything. I have -60, -9, -4. I still have how much? -73. I have 0 plus -21 plus -2. I still have -23. Either way, you guys can do it. You're going to get the same answer mathematically. I just like to have plus signs all in the middle, so it's just easier. I don't have to think as much. A couple things that came up on WebAssign. Remember, if you're given 2 points and you have to find the component form, it's terminal minus initial. It's where it ends minus where it begins. That's how you do if you do it opposite, you'll get the same numbers, but the signs will be wrong, and then WebAssign's going to tell you it's wrong, and that you gotta have the signs right. Everybody with me?